Hello, good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of the Check It Out show. Described last time by one of our guests, Russell Prue, as the Tomorrow's World of EdTech. It was a great show, wasn't it, Al?
It certainly was, and obviously with Russell involved, you're always going to get that extra flair. But we had a fantastic show. It was really, really good. And I guess proof in the pudding is we've got an equally jam-packed show tonight, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many great companies involved this evening. I mean, we saw them in the little intro video there. There's so many diverse range of different products and services being shared this evening. And I find it great just to sort of learn about all the different things that are out there. And obviously, you know, with the inability to get out to trade shows and sharing at events and things, it's difficult to actually get that sort of contact and learn about the great developments in products and the new products that are out there as well. So it's lovely to be able to provide this platform to share these sorts of things, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one thing that's very evident at the moment is there's so many challenges and at times negativity, focusing around all the things that we're actually facing within the education sector. I think to be able to share what is one of many positives at the moment that's happening in education, and obviously we're showcasing solutions and services, but we shouldn't forget, and it's always a really good opportunity when we're chatting together just to highlight how much has been going on in a positive sense and with innovation within our schools over the last 6 or 7 months, how adaptable our teachers, support staff, IT teams and leadership have been. And sometimes that goes forgotten. So it's lovely to not only be able to share hopefully some really, really cool tools and solutions tonight, but also celebrate how well our schools are actually doing in really, really challenging times.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was involved in running a panel discussion at an event in Dubai, although virtually. Obviously, I haven't traveled back from Dubai today, but I was involved in that panel today at the Guess EdTech Virtual Summit. And the deputy head on the panel there was saying, you know, of all the, obviously, it's not a very good situation that we're in, it's beyond a good situation that we're in, but one of the very few benefits has been the way in which teachers and schools have been able to innovate and get past those confidence barriers and making some really, you know, great inroads into purposeful use of technology. So yeah, it's lovely to sort of be able to sort of pick out some of the positives from the horrible situation that we all find ourselves in. It's lovely, Al, as well. I don't know if you can see here, but it's great to have people like Youssef joining us from Morocco. We've got Henry Platten, who's coming on later from GoBubble, wishing us good luck and great positivity and celebrating the power of EdTech. Please do, if you're watching us, get involved in the live chat. We'd love to hear from you and hear your sort of thoughts and perspectives on the different products and services that are being shared as well. Please stick with us. We're here right through from now until the end at around 9 p.m. this evening. Don't go switching off and thinking about the Bake Off. Keep it with us for the rest of the evening. We're very pleased to have you join us while we're having these amazing people come and share about their thing they're really passionate about, which is for most companies and services, you know, really helping and supporting teachers, schools, and ultimately the children that attend in all of them. So yeah, fantastic to have this opportunity to do this again, Al. And we're back again, aren't we, next month?
We are. We're going to be doing our Christmas special. It's a bit of a leap off on our 3rd episode to be a Christmas special, but looking forward to that. I think the most important thing for tonight is just so that everyone's aware of our format. We want to keep it really nice and fast-paced. So every different guest we're bringing on tonight is going to have 5 minutes to really highlight what their solution's all about, what makes it different, and what they want to know about it. I really encourage everybody taking part to take part in the conversations, whether you're on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook, share in the discussion. Please share, because the reason we're doing this alongside all the other platforms available is we want to give a voice to all our great EdTech vendors and service providers in the industry. And the best way we give them a voice is that if everyone watching will share when they see products or services they like and spread the word. And linking in a really nice segue, I hope, to our first guest is, you know, we're here wanted to shout out and celebrate what's great in our EdTech community. And our first guest is all about being at the heart of the EdTech community in the UK and really promoting what we do well, all the different organisations we have. So it seems to me a good point, Mark, to introduce our first guest, Caroline Wright from BESA, to talk about all things EdTech, what BESA do, and hopefully a little bit more. Good evening to you, Caroline.
Evening. Hello. Hi.
Welcome
really nice
to the
to
show.
you.
Really good to have you here, and a perfect guest to have to kick off tonight's cornucopia of EdTech. Obviously, BESA is at the heart of what we do in the UK in terms of representing and supporting opportunities for EdTech vendors and organisations in the UK. Let's kick it off. For those foolish people who've never heard of BESA, would you be willing to give us a quick picture summary of what BESA is all about?
Brilliant, thank you, Al. Yes, so BESA is the trade association for companies that make educational products and services. So the easiest way to describe what we do is, if you take a school, you take out the teachers and kids, turn it upside down, everything that falls out is probably mostly made by a BESA member. So it's all of the ed tech, and then all of the, your hands-on classroom resources, textbooks, educational furniture. We cover everything if it has an educational benefit and outcome. But we have more than 400 companies we work with, but more than half of them are EdTech specialists. So we do a lot to try and link up EdTech companies with schools, educationalists, to share best practice and connect the communities.
That's really interesting, and so I'm really pleased to have worked with lots of companies that are aligned with BESA as well. And one thing that I like about the relationship you have with the BESA members are some of the sort of stringent sort of checks and things that you sort of ask the different companies that are BESA members to align themselves to. Could you just sort of share a little bit about that sort of process and the ways in which you provide balances and checks to make sure that schools can be a little bit protected, and the things that you ask your members to adhere to as being BESA members, please?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Well, you're absolutely right. It all originally started by, we know that schools have limited budgets. We know that they need to make sure that everything they buy really works for their school. We wanted to help schools understand, a bit like you see the little red tractor when you go and buy your meat in the supermarket. We wanted to be able to help schools understand companies that have gone through checks and balances, and to know the trusted quality suppliers. So we introduced an industry code of conduct, a BESA code of conduct, that all of our suppliers have to sign up to in order to be accepted into BESA's membership. So that covers all of the sort of safeguarding, data security, customer service, code of practice, legislation. We carry out financial checks annually on all of our BESA members, and we also have a criteria where they have to have been operating in the UK market for a period of time, so that we know that they've got a good track record of understanding about how to work with what is a pretty unique education system and what our UK schools need. We also have a service, though, about sort of 6 or 7 years ago, we were really mindful that there is a really high quality number of great EdTech startups coming out. And, having a time limit on the amount of time you've had to work in UK schools may not help startups. So we've introduced something we call a launchpad service, so that smaller companies can actually access all. We carry out research, seminars, business support seminars, networking, and all the kind of things you'd expect a trade association to do. We've designed a program called our Launchpad program that and we sign up to a code of practice, and we're working, we are sort of young innovative companies, so we help support startups too.
Thank you for sharing that, Caroline. I suppose the next question is, if you're a school and you're looking for good quality solutions, obviously the first place you'd go is YouTube and the Check It Out show. But beyond that, how could BESA help you in terms of services you provide in finding good solutions to try?
Yeah, thank you. Well, I think that's a really good point about the Check It Out show, because I think it's about where do teachers want to go and what support can they find. So I think I'm looking forward to seeing this evening's show, because it's just great to visualize and see and hear from the people who had the idea and put the product together. So I think this is really valuable. What we also do, and it links very much up to in our research of schools, school leaders and school teachers were telling us constantly that they were having challenges of knowing where to go to get advice on what would be right for their school. knowing where the innovation is coming from. And they haven't got time because they're so, I mean, I'm still teaching Granny to suck eggs. All the teachers are probably nodding, yes, too busy with all the other things that are going on. So we put together something we've called our Lended portal. You also hear those horror stories of schools buying stuff that's not right and then it sits in the cupboard. So the idea of Lended is exactly that. I actually went to there's a lovely it was in the London Borough of Havering, and the Senko for the local authorities and the Senkos have a really good system where they actually take out, they sort of buy a piece of Sen equipment, and then they can actually there's a loaning library that they can go and take it out and see if it works in their school. And I thought that's a fantastic example of really good local practice. Wouldn't it be nice if we could make a national platform where teachers could do something similar? So we set up Lended. It's a portal where all of our BESA members and Launchpad companies can put their products on it, and schools can take out loans of those. So they can borrow some of the product or service for a period of time to actually see if it works in the context of their school. And what we've also done from the Lended platform is, we know that there is marketing speak, and then there's the real speak that teachers want to hear and understand from each other. So the way Lended is put together is we've asked all of our companies not to put their sort of marketing blurb, but it's about actually, can they have a case study from a teacher in a real school that's used the product, so that teachers can look at it and think, do you know what, that school's like mine. That might be something that might work in my context. I'm going to have a look. And they can also rate products and give teacher reviews. So that's the idea of Lended, that it's actually a platform that connects and helps hopefully save time for teachers who we know, especially now, even more now, are really time pressed.
No, that's a fantastic idea. In my various roles, when I was working full time in education, I was always very quick to take a recommendation of something that worked, that was contextual, from somebody who worked in a local school, from our local network meetings. We'd bring things down and sort of share them in our network meetings. But having that on a national scale with those case studies there as well, I think that's really, really useful. Do you have much take up for it?
We've seen it go through the roof over the past year. I can't think. It's either three. Now I'm rubbish with figures. It was either 3,000% or 300% kind of increase, and a huge increase in the number of teachers registering for it. Actually, today there's been I'm going to say a helpful piece of advice from the DFE. So don't all take a gasp. It's actually there's been a helpful piece of advice posted on the DFE's website today that actually pinpoints Lended and other sources of advice and guidance that schools can go to during kind of school closures and when they're planning for remote education. I don't like the term remote education, but they've termed it remote education. So I think during this last period, we've obviously seen a huge turn to EdTech and schools looking to utilise it. What they really need now, and in our feedback from schools we survey, is actually the support on the CPD side of things, which is why I think the EdTech demonstrator program is really helpful on that front. And we also have a sister offer called LearnEd, which is actually a CPD and peer-to-peer advice where teachers talk to other teachers about implementing EdTech solutions in the classroom. So that's something we've been running online as well, which has also seen a big increase in the number of teachers actually applying to take part in that.
Brilliant. Thank you, Caroline. As always, it's a real pleasure to have you come and share. Keep flying the flag for EdTech in the UK. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. And before our show director puts the countdown clock on you, and we move on to our first product of the evening, anybody wants to find out more about BESA and services, where's the best place to head online?
It's just gone across the ticker tape at BESA Tweet. It's also www.besa.org.uk. So do ping us an email on there and we'll reply as soon as we can.
Fantastic. Thank you as always. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, Caroline. Thank you.
What a perfect start to the show. Sets the tone for some positivity and options, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great to see, you know, an organisation like BESA being so supportive in lots of different ways. There, CPD, for example, with Learned, you know, CPD is so crucial for any sort of successful implementation, isn't it? So it's great to see that. So thank you so much for joining us on the show, Caroline. Thank you. So our first guest this evening, sharing their product, Al, is...
It's Sarah Allen from GDPR in Schools. Someone we know well.
Hi, good evening,
Sarah.
guys. Hello.
Welcome,
Evening, Sarah.
Hi, how you all doing?
Doing good.
Yeah, not too bad, thank you very much, Sarah. How about yourself?
Not bad, thank you. Taking a bit of time out from being with the family and the kids, so it's a bit refreshing, really.
Oh, brilliant. Well, look, everyone's on a really tight time schedule with the show. So rather than sort of take up time with pleasantries, if we jump straight into, it's lovely to be pleasant, obviously, but I want to give you the opportunity to sort of share as much as you can. So can you share what your solution is and sort of share what it's all about, please?
Of course I can. So GDPR in Schools, we provide an intuitive platform alongside a wide range of training and data protection officer services. It's to support schools and multi-academy trusts become more GDPR compliant while taking the stress and hassle out of GDPR. So whether it's something like handling a complex subject access request, dealing with a breach or producing a secure data map, our platform and services has it covered. So features of the platform include things like your quick view dashboard, so you can drill down into information, but also have it as an overview. You've got a secure place for all your documentation, such as SARS and breaches. Multi-academy trust can also toggle between multiple schools and accounts in real time. We offer over 3,000 pre-populated data maps built in, and it helps with the record of processing activity, alongside an integrated learning and role-based training. We offer unlimited advice and support and reporting tools, so all stakeholders can have a overview and get involved.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sarah. Okay. Now, I know you folks are doing all sorts at the moment in terms of free CPD and extra support, but tell us from your perspective, you know, what makes your solution and what you're offering different to others? Okay,
so we provide a secure and accessible cloud-based platform. It offers peace of mind at your fingertips. So we're forward thinking to meet the demands and the challenges of GDPR and changing climate. As more staff are working remotely, it presents new challenges in the way data is handled, and this leads to new processes being adopted. So we provide things like a data protection impact assessment template. It's got guidance on there as well on the platform, and it just allows schools to identify and mitigate risks easily. We've also added a new training module on being GDPR compliant while remote working. So we're constantly evolving our platform and services to meet the demands and the challenges with today's changing climate.
Wow, that's fantastic. So that's really, really useful for schools, Sarah. Thank you so much for sharing that. Just to sort of build on what you've said there, have you got any more examples of how your product sort of best supports and serves the audiences in which you work? Because say you know, a large secondary would have sort of different demands compared to a primary, compared to an FE college, those sort of things. So how do you sort of best support your audience, your clients with the product? Is there any sort of differentiation there, perhaps?
I think it's purely a case of if you've got a multi-academy trust with quite a number of schools, what's easy to do is have one of the platforms where you've got a trust system where you can toggle between the two. But what we really like to do, though, is understand exact schools, their organisation, how it's set out to best be able to support them. But we can offer bespoke tailored solutions. It's just a case of understanding what each school is looking for and how we can best help, whether it's with a platform or adding on the back of that a data protection service as well.
Now, I know your solution quite well, and you're a great team, and certainly the product's moved a long way as well, adapting to market needs. Thinking outside the product, what about things like DPO services and the broader kind of guidance in terms of trust data protection?
Yeah, so we offer things when it comes to if you've got a more challenging, complex subject access request, you may need a bit more information and advice on that. And we are here to help from the DPO support service mechanism. Alongside that, you've got data protection impact assessments, especially now with remote working. It's sometimes a challenge to understand how to go forward. And we kind of help and offer a service where we understand exactly what it is you're trying to do in terms of the change, the process, and what suppliers you're using, and be able to sort of take you and through the journey effectively to provide the solutions. So we can take on any aspect of GDPR, whether it be a breach that needs to be reported to the ICO, and we're here to help and support and guide you through the process.
I'm going to add a cheeky one on the end. If you don't mind. Do you think people's perception or awareness on GDPR has slipped a bit since the initial focus?
I think sometimes it's difficult because we all have a huge amount of challenges. I appreciate for schools especially, it's very, very difficult. There's a lot of time constraints, especially now more than ever. Yes, I think finger has maybe been taken off the pulse. But I suppose there's always that element of it is important to be ensuring that we are aligning with what the ICO has put out, and we're here to assist and be able to support. So yeah, I think sometimes the focus may not always be there, but I suppose it's again just reflecting, looking what you've got so far, and then whether it's something like taking out an audit, independent audit that we can do to then assess where you need to work towards.
Oh, well, it definitely sounds like something that's really, really useful, and it sounds like you're really on top of like working with your customers as well, which is always really, really useful for school. To have my sort of school hat on for a second. For people who don't know who you are and all of that sort of stuff, Sarah, where can people find you on social media and your website and all those sort of things? Have you got those to share with them? Yeah,
you can see at the bottom there, it's scrolling all across the bottom, but it's gdpr.school. They type in there. We can request information, a demo, etc., and take it from there.
Brilliant. Well, listen, thank you so much for taking the time to join us on the Check It Out show this evening. Got big thumbs up from myself, and you got 2 thumbs from Al. So there we go. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
And then she was gone. It is a bit like Graham Norton's chair, isn't it? Everyone's just they're straight back out again. It's a bit brutal, that, isn't it?
It's always tough when you've got that really short window to have a chat, and certainly knowing many of the different solutions we're going to be talking about and services this evening. I mean, they've got a really, really broad range of support there. And if you want to know about data protection, they're definitely one of the go-to organizations. So really good to hear from Sarah and the team there. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, just like our first guest on the first show, actually, what Sarah's done there as well is a great example of what a good one looks like, I think. As a company coming on to share, really well prepared, knew, had everything ready at fingertips to share with everything there as well. So a great presentation there. And actually, being someone who's going to come on a bit later myself makes me that little bit more nervous myself, to be fair, Mr. Kingsley.
Oh, you've got a whole heap of different questions. Don't you worry, Mr. Anderson.
Right, and on that bombshell, who have we got next up then, Mr. Kingsley? We got Alan Mackenzie next, another Al, the e-safety advisor. So welcome then to the show, Mr. Alan Mackenzie. Evening, sir.
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you doing? Nice to see you.
Really good to see you as always, Alan. You all right?
It's been too long.
It has indeed.
Glad to see you keeping well, and glad to see this show up and running. I think it's absolutely fantastic.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So, you know the format. You've had the opportunity to see the first victim, guest, go through the system. So, obviously, we're not talking about a product here. We're talking about a service and support and wisdom that you can share to support schools. So, give us your summary of what you can offer to support schools, Al.
Thank you, Al. And yes, sadly, I am the product. It's not technology at all. I mean, my service is essentially I go into schools and talk to parents and staff, and most importantly of all, the students in regards to online safety issues. And it's an area I've been working in for over 11 years now, so a fair amount of experience in that. But obviously, due to some recent events, those physical visits into schools have stopped somewhat, which is frustrating. It's not only frustrating for me, but it's also frustrating for a lot of schools as well, who really relied on that outside experience, that other pair of eyes, if you like, to look at things from a different perspective. So it took really a lot of thought to come up with something simple and cost effective that was going to be useful for schools, whether it was primary, secondary, or indeed colleges. Now the staff was an easy one, and I've been really pleased with the way that that's gone. And for staff, I simply made a series of videos, and the beauty of videos is that staff can watch these videos at any time to suit them at all. So that is by the by. The biggest one that the problem area really was the students, because my whole job is about engaging with those students. First of all, finding out what their issues are and giving support and guidance in regards to that, but also finding out what the issues the school are having. And of course, with my knowledge and experience, what I know are some of the bigger issues. In other words, what are some of the growing issues that are out there that the schools and of course the students may not be aware of. And that was a difficult one to decide on. So I trialed something during the latter part of lockdown, and it's simply called Ask Alan. It literally is as simple as that. Now, there's a good reason for that. And I'll take you through the trial that I did with both primary and secondary schools. So from a primary and secondary perspective, students got their heads together and they wrote down questions. Actually, a few primary schools, what they did, they used it as a literacy lesson, and they got the children to write letters to me about their online safety concerns. And what I did was I created a video answering those very questions to give them support and guidance into what their concerns were. And by doing that, it's actually quite a nice way of doing things, because a lot of the questions that the students tend to ask, and that's both primary and secondary, they're all very, very common. In fact, one of the most common questions I get is, how do I stop my accounts from getting hacked? It's one of the most common questions you'll come across. But the beauty of that question is that not only am I answering their question, which means that they are listening, which means that you're getting a positive impact. The beauty of that from a school perspective is that as part of that question, I am also able to inject important safeguarding messages into that. So for example, if a student says, ask the question, I'm worried about my accounts getting hacked, that takes me into so many areas that I can segue off into. It takes me into personal information, digital footprint. From there, I can go into youth-produced sexual images. I can segue off in another direction for sixth formers and talk about their digital footprint in regards to university and future employment and careers and such like. So with one simple question, I can go into multiple different areas. And like I say, I trialed this and it takes a lot of time to create the videos because they're all green screened and they're all personalized, they're all recorded in 4K. But the impact has been very, very positive, simply because I wasn't talking at the students. I was answering their specific questions, which means that they had more interest in it rather than me just spouting off in some sort of pre-recorded video. And as simple as that is, I'm over the moon with the positive feedback on it.
Well, that sounds really, really interesting, and a great way to sort of diversify and innovate to enable you to sort of still continue the same sort of work as you were doing before. I remember seeing you speak about, I've seen you a number of times over the years, but I've always found you to be really sort of on the money with your messages and the guidance that you share. You've been involved in roundtable conversations with myself and Al before as well, and I remember the Derby conference. If schools want to work with you, Alan, where can they go about finding stuff? And did you want to mention your Ditto magazine as well? Because that's something that I regularly share with schools that I work with, and I love to read it myself because I learned so much from it too. So can you share
go-to source as well? Brilliant.
Thank you, Jess. That's very kind of you. Yeah, these on my website, www.esafety-advisor.com. That's advisor with an E. You can subscribe to the Ditto magazine on there. It's all completely free. There's nothing in it apart from online safety information and guidance. It's both for schools and it's for parents. If a school signs up to that, and by signing up, all that means is you just give me your name and your email address so I can let you know when a new one's out. If a school signs up, you also get a weekly update email from me, free educational resources, any new things I've found out, any new statutory guidance that's coming out. So it's literally an all-in-one shop for online safety information, if you like, and everything is in there, and everything is absolutely free. I share all of my knowledge in my Ditto magazine. That has sadly stopped during lockdown for obvious reasons, but it's just about to start up again, and there will be a new edition. It's a PDF, and a new edition will be coming out in January.
Brilliant stuff. Listen, thank you so much for taking the time to come and join us this evening, Alan. It's great to see you again. It's been too long. Thank you very much for joining us. Cheers.
Lovely to see you all. Thank you, and take care. Thank you.
You too.
Thank you. Oh, he was back again for a second. That's great to see, you know, and we've seen that with small businesses, with big, huge businesses, you know, from your Microsofts to all sorts, sort of thinking carefully about their products and sort of diversifying them and making them fit for purpose under a lockdown kind of scenario. And great to see that Alan's been able to sort of diversify his offer into schools in that way to make him still be able to work and share that the brilliant advice he's got. He's got such a mindful approach to these things, hasn't he?
Okay. Top man, as we said with Ditto, definitely a go-to source. But I think the key thing is Alan's done a number of videos and he's got a really good way of encapsulating and engaging on those key points. And as he alluded to, taking one point and building step by step onto other points. So definitely a big shout out if you're involved in, you're interested in broadening the resources you've got available, definitely check out eSafety Advisor. A really, really good one. He's also, I might add, which is not really part of this show, but he's also a very gifted photographer as well. So another shout out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we must be due another guest, Mr. Anderson.
I believe we are. And our next guest coming onto the show is Frank Kabangu from Cascade Spanish. Welcome to the show, Frank.
Hello, nice for you to have me.
You're very welcome, Frank. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Very good.
Brilliant stuff. Well, look, let's jump straight into the questions so you get a good run at the time slot that you've got available to you. Starting with the same question we've been asking everybody, could you share with us a little bit about what your solution is and sort of share its name and everything about it, please?
Okay, so the solution is it's called Cascade Spanish, and it's a content streaming platform, for example, like a Netflix or Spotify. But the difference is it's the content on the platform is tailor-made for Spanish teaching purposes. Okay, so the content comes in the form of lessons and stories that interlace. So the way it works is it begins with a segment of lessons, and lessons are usually between 5 to 20 minutes. Okay, so in the first segment you learn a few Spanish words and a few Spanish concepts, and then you get to practice using those Spanish words and concepts to form sentences. Then at the end of that segment, you are given a short Spanish story that's written using only the words and concepts you practiced and learned in the last segment. All right? And because of this, you can expect a comprehension of the story to be close to 100%. Then you move on to the next step, which is another segment of lessons. And as before, it's between 5 to 20 minutes. And again, you learn new Spanish words and concepts, and you practice using them. After that, you get a new story. The story, again, as before, only contains the words and concepts you've been taught in practice. And as before, you can expect 100% comprehension. Then it's another block of lessons, then it's another story, and so on and so on. It goes on like that. That's the solution.
Fantastic. I like the idea of that. My wife has been learning Spanish, and I'm always the competitive. It'd be quite nice to have another way that I might be able to pick up some words. So I suppose the important question really is, not being an expert on MFL myself, what makes your solution different? Have you taken a different approach to how you're delivering the content to other solutions, or is yours completely unique in the way that you're pitching it?
So the way it's different is that it provides the content. So there are plenty of language teaching services and products that will teach you grammar only, for example, or that will just teach you vocabulary. Okay, so the difference with this one is, first of all, it provides you the content you need within one package. The second point of difference is it gives you like the assurance or guarantee that all the content you get at any point will be content you understand on your own, like without using a dictionary. So That's the point of difference. It's to get the content and you can understand it. And and the biggest one, of course, is you get Spanish you can understand earlier than anyone else can give it to you. So you don't have to wait a week or a month. Within the first hour, you get 2 or 3 Spanish stories that you can understand on your own.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. That's really interesting. I'm learning Spanish myself as well, although I think I'm probably a bit behind where Mrs. Kingsley is with my knowledge of Spanish, Al. And if you're being competitive, crikey, I don't stand a chance with that at all. But Frank, I want to ask you, I'm a secondary teacher by trade. And so the question sort of coming into my mind is Cascade Spanish sort of curriculum aligned? Is it aligned to any of the exam boards for GCSE Spanish at all? Or is it sort of for more general sort of Spanish learning? Or could you sort of explain that? Is that okay?
Okay. So when I was making it, my objective was to remake the wheel, basically. So I decided to go back to the drawing board and create a whole new system that works. So in terms of performance, like I said, you can expect, I would make the claim you can expect better performance than anything else out there. So the content it's appropriate for kids. So it's G-rated. It's appropriate for kids. And it's also easy to learn, and beginners can use it. Yeah, so you could use it in your own system, but as far as the theory behind it, it's theory that I had to make from scratch.
And how's it offered, Frank? Do people have an opportunity to give it a try before they subscribe to the solution? Is it a one-time course, or is it an ongoing subscription?
So it's available as an app for download.
Okay.
And when you download the app, so it's free to download the app, and within the app, the first 3 hours is free. You don't even need to make an account. You just use the first 3 hours for free. You check it out, and then to access the rest of it from then on, you need to purchase modules of content between $1.50 and $4.50.
Perfect.
Brilliant. Thank you, Frank. And on the app front then, so is that available on both iOS or iPadOS and Android, or is it just on the one platform?
It's iOS and Android. It's both.
Brilliant. So you can find it on the App Store. Fantastic. And if people want to get in touch with you and find out more, have you got a website where people can sort of find out more, or a Twitter handle at all?
So you can visit www.cascadelanguages.com.au for more information or to contact me.
Fantastic. Well, listen, thank you very much for taking the time to come and share about Cascade Spanish on the show this evening. I wish you all the very best with it. Sounds really interesting. I'll be downloading a copy.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Yeah, muy bueno. Thank you.
Thanks, Frank.
Cheers, Frank. Thank you.
Do you think that'll work on my Nokia I've got, Mark?
Pardon?
My Nokia smartphone from 1992. Do you think it'll run on that as well?
Only on the N95 if you've got one. I think your 3210 it's not going to really sort of have the right sort of power.
I have a good joke, isn't it fantastic? Because I think when it comes to language skills, sometimes it's to say it quietly, but in the UK we don't necessarily fly the flag in terms, particularly as us as adults, at our breadth of language skills, and any way of making it learning accessible, it's got to be a plus, hasn't it?
Absolutely. And actually, having multitudes language skills available to you is a huge skill. And Spanish is one of the most spoken languages in the world, second or third most popular language in the world, I believe Spanish is. So a great in there. I'm sure lots of MFL teachers are going to jump on me now and tell me that I've got it completely wrong there, but certainly it's one of the most spoken languages in the world. So great to see that from Frank. We're cooking with gas here tonight, aren't we, Al?
We are making good progress, which and so far everybody's been bang on time. Good summaries. I think we've got a bit of a troublemaker coming up next, so we're going to have to control things a little bit more.
I know. We might have to rein him in a little bit. It's a long-time sufferer, long-time friend, Mr. Neil Emery, joining us next. Now, both of us have known Neil for a very long time, pre his Trilby TV days. But what a great journey for you and Ben and the team, Neil, with the product. And obviously, Al and I know plenty about what it is that you do, but our viewers might not. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Before we jump into all that, though, how are you? Because last time I saw you was at York Racecourse, which was easily 18 months ago. So how are you?
I'm good. I like this waiting backstage. Obviously, it's getting me ready for my appearance on Graham Norton. That will obviously be coming up at some point. But no, I'm good, thank you. I've moved back to Devon, so I'm 30 yards by the sea now. So yeah, my car used to do 30,000 miles, and now it does less than 3 a year. So so I took that opportunity to move back to Devon. So yeah, and how are you guys? You good?
Very good. A few jealous photographs, seeing some of your lovely views out to sea in the morning. I'm sitting there thinking I haven't got quite the same view from my house, but lovely to see that you've settled back in anyway.
Yes, thank you. Yes, it makes a lot of people jealous on my Zoom calls and Teams calls when I show them the view behind. So,
I do live quite close to the beach, but I haven't got a view. You know, I've got to walk sort of 7 minutes to get a view of the sea. I've got a view of trees and a few buildings, and that's about my lot. So yeah, a lot of envy for all of that, Neil. But jumping into the reason why you're here, we can't just be having a mate to catch up. Could you share, for those people who don't know about you and the work that you do and the product that you've got, could you share with us, please, a little bit about your solution?
Okay, yes. So Neil Emery, director of Trilby TV. Trilby TV is the #1 digital signage platform for education, developed from our previous lives as Apple iPad trainers, where we were traveling all around the UK delivering iPad training just as the iPad came out, and for the next 5-6 years. And we would sit in reception waiting for a teacher to come and grab us for that training session, and we would look at this blank, turned off digital signage screen. And if it wasn't blank, it was usually playing content we felt had little impact on ourselves as a viewer, and certainly little impact on the school itself. And that was a bit crazy because we were there to do very creative processes on the iPad. That's what it was all about. And more than ever, we're creating digital content on our devices, like more than ever. But there was no nice medium to share that content to the screen in reception or other screens around the school. When we asked IT, we got brick walls. And when we asked the teacher staff, they didn't really know. So what we now give you is a simple to use digital signage platform that focuses on student voice, teacher sharing, and the wider community. What that means is that screens that were off or not doing a lot now stay up to date, relevant, and have lots more impact. And, you know, that really, for us, helps schools see the value in their digital signage, helps them grow that digital signage estate to build on things like whole school communication, parental engagement, and community cohesion. And at the end of the day, you know, if you're going to buy some technology, then let's have a plan in place to use it effectively. So that's really where Trilby TV was born out of and what we are now.
Thank you, Neil. Really good summary. The follow-on question is a little bit about what makes you different, but also, because I know it's a huge USP, tell us about how easy it is to use, get set up and deploy.
Well, yeah, I mean, we learned from being trainers that if you don't make it easy, the pushback from education staff is huge, as you guys know. You know, I would say 80% of staff when we were doing iPad training were nervous. You had your 15% who would go after technology and you didn't need to worry about. 5% didn't really care anyway, but 80% of staff were very, very nervous. So we made Trilby TV, I would call it the Shobi of digital signage. It's that simple to use. You know, we looked at those early apps, Shobi, Class Dojo, iMovie, and we made it as simple in functionality as those apps. So yes, it is super simple to use. And it's absolutely focused on education. You know, other solutions out there, if you look at their drop down, it will say retail, restaurant, health, but we focus on education. That's all we focus on because it's our passion. We have an unlimited screen license. That's another USP. So we want our schools to grow their digital estate. So we don't charge them a per screen cost. We give them an unlimited screen license. So if they want to add 50 screens to their school or college, go ahead. That's fine with us. And we also have a content catalog full of free of charge content made by ourselves, but also with collaborations with others like ChildNet, Keep Britain Tidy. We've just done one with Vocabulary Ninja, a word of the day. And we're currently working with Britannica, WWF, and World Book Day. So there's a set of content there that will gently mix in with your sharing and showcasing as well, which is really important. So.
That's brilliant, Neil. And something that I really love about Trilby TV as well is the variety of content that you can actually share on. It's not just photos from a class or anything. Can you sort of share some of the sort of content that you can actually include in the display? And it's not just one big splash screen either, is it? You sort of got different sections for different things. And can you share a little bit about what sort of schools can share on those screens, please?
Yes, so we make it very easy to share video up to 4K. You can add your slideshows, but with your slideshows, you've got one area to add images, PowerPoints, PDF, Word, Excel, publisher files even. You can add Twitter feeds, which are great for impact because they're a little bit of text and image. Multiple images, video will play within your tweets now as well, and GIFs. Web content, so you can video live stream, you can YouTube, you can Vimeo embed, I meant YouTube live stream, sorry. You can Google Slides into there, you can RSS feed into there. So, but again, it's one space where you throw it in and we sort it out for you, basically. So it is super easy to use. If I can use it, anybody can.
Brilliant, thank you, Neil. Can I add one extra one jumping in? Sorry, Al. Do you have to have the same? I know the answer, but I'll ask it because I want to hear from you. Do you have to share the same stuff on every screen, or can you differentiate for different areas in the school?
Absolutely, different content on different screens, cloud-based. So some of our schools will beam back photos from when they're abroad, or our staff are uploading content. So good one last week when Scotland made the Euros, Edinburgh Academy were uploading pictures. So when the kids came in, they were celebrating Scotland reaching the Euros, which is just that perfect. That's the simplicity of our platform.
What more can we say? Quality presentation, quality solution. As always, Mr. Emery, thank you so much. Where can we point in people who are interested in checking out Trilby and getting a trial? www.trilbytv.co.uk/trial for a trial, 30 days free of charge. We won't charge you anything. It's all nice and free, just in case you're worried about that bit. At Trilby TV on Twitter. Fantastic. As always, pleasure to see you, sir.
Thank you, gents. Thank you for the opportunity. Much appreciated.
Thank you so much, Neil. Lovely to see you.
Bye, guys.
Cheers.
Bye-bye. Really good solution, Mark. One of our primary schools, they use Trilby and they have the screens facing out of the classrooms for parents in the mornings and evenings. They can get showcases instantly of what the kids have been doing during the day, important staff news. It's a really flexible and fluid system. Great solution.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Lots of the schools I work with, use Trilby TV, and it's great to sort of see that, and that's why I asked the question, really, the differentiation. So what's sort of in the front foyer when you come in is different to what you'll see in the staff room. It's a great way of sort of channeling sort of bite-sized CPD and sort of key messages and things into the relevant areas as well within your school. It's a great little product that really it obviously is niche in its thing, but it really is the sort of Ron seal in terms of its delivery and what you can do with it. So yeah, strong product there from Neil and Ben. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
We've got another cool solution, as expected, coming up next. Our next guest from Learning Possibilities is Mehool, and I hope I pronounced this right, Sanghrajka. I've probably made a mistake of that. So Mehool, please forgive me if I've pronounced your surname wrong. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome.
Hi, Mark. Hi, Al. Thank you for having me. Lovely to be here.
Pleasure to have you on the show. And we're really interested. Obviously, you've had a chance to see the format. So, yeah, really nice to have a chance to find out a little bit more about Learning Possibilities and the solution and platform that you offer. So could you give us an introduction, please?
Absolutely. So in 2007, Professor Stephen Heppel and I decided to set up Learning Possibilities. And the reason was, at that time, we saw a lot of schools being built or rebuilt. But what we didn't see was the transformation inside the classroom. And so many kids were coming out of schools without having the skills that employers needed, and therefore were struggling. And so we looked at this solution and looked at this problem and thought we need to find a solution that basically looks at the platform that companies are using. And at that time, and still today, it's Office 365 mainly. And thought about how, making that into an education solution. How do we make it work in schools? And so we did a couple of things. We picked the top 10 tools and apps within that, and the ones that we knew drove positive outcomes in education. We organized everybody into classes, managed their identities as they went through the school, put everything on a single dashboard with tiles that have single click, so you can do everything with one click, share resources, assignments, quizzes, and put it out there. And basically, alongside that, wrote something called the Adopt Framework, which actually at that point became the UK's national framework for technology adoption. The government bought it and made that public. And the impact of that was basically so that teachers started using the platform as they adopted it and used it. The kids had exposure, and as they did, they not only learned how to use the tools, but also collaborate and communicate online and so on. Some of the things we see today in this lockdown scenario, and came out with the skills that they needed to get employment. So that was the start of it. Since then, it's grown massively. I think we've had 3 national deployments of some sort or the other, and it, it's now used in about 8 countries around the world.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much for sharing that, Mehool. It's a new one for me, so I'm really interested to find out more. Just sort of, you mentioned other sort of platforms that have some of the sort of similar features. Jumping into the next question, what makes your solution different? Because say if you mentioned some things around collaboration and things, you can do collaboration on a variety of platforms. So, what makes your solution that much? What makes it sort of your USP more than maybe some other areas or other tools that have those sorts of features?
Absolutely. So a lot of platforms that we see are very process driven. So you have to follow sequences or processes in using them. What we've done is basically created a tool set. I think we're the most integrated platform into Office, but in addition to that, we've added other tools that we know are needed in the classroom. How do you measure student sentiment or student engagement, or do assignments better, etc. So we've created the tool set. We know that the tools basically drive the key skills of collaboration, communication, independent thinking, and so on. But the solution, most importantly, is hugely scalable. So it scales, it's very secure, it's very affordable. The platform at one point was deployed across the whole of Wales, for instance, almost 700,000 teachers and students. And we know that it works on any browser, any device. In countries where internet isn't ubiquitous, it has a lot of offline capability. So in essence, think of it as deploying Office, but with an education wrap into a school, so that your ability to use it quickly, effectively becomes very good, and essentially takes into account all the problems schools have around devices, connectivity, and so on.
Well, it's undoubtedly you've got an excellent pedigree in terms of the journey that the solution's been on, and also some of the projects that you've successfully rolled out and managed as part of that journey, Mehool. Where do you see now in terms of that kind of key takeaway for people listening today? What would be the main strands that you'd encourage them to take a look at, and how would it directly benefit them with the current challenges schools are facing?
Well, it's interesting that it's taken a pandemic for us to not have to explain why schools need digital technology in most places, and that's now happened. And I think people understand the need for blended or hybrid learning, for having those skills at home and so on. So for us, I think if you're looking for something safe, secure, scalable, but based on an industry standard that most corporates are using, I think that's basically the solution that we offer today. And the solution is on our website. It's there's a free 3-month trial for any school that wants to use it. We want them to make sure it works for them before we ask them for any money. And so it's there, and really happy for them to go and do that.
Brilliant. That's a really generous trial time as well. There aren't many companies who offer a duration of 3 months for you to sort of really get your teeth into it. That's really lovely to hear that you're doing that. If a school's interested in finding out more, Mehool, where do they go to find out more about the product?
So the quickest way to our website is learningpossibilities.com, one word. And on there, you will see on the homepage a couple of interesting things. Next week, we're doing a big webinar on Education 2021. What are the priorities and goals for the year ahead, given that we're at a crossroads with the vaccine coming and so on. And second, you'll see the COVID offer there, and it's a, a couple of clicks, a couple of boxes, and somebody will be in touch. Learningpossibilities.com.
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. Lovely to hear about it. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, and look forward to it. Good luck and stay safe.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. Take care. That sounds really interesting. I can't believe I've not heard of it, to be honest. That sounds good. I'll be definitely going to checking that out, as it were.
Some good projects, some good pedigree there, and we've had other projects involved with Stephen Heppel, and they've got some good research base behind that. So definitely one to check out. A great one for the show. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. With no further ado, we're now looking to have Kristina Mjomark join us. She's from Discovery Education, Health and Relationships Programme. So please welcome to the show, Kristina. Hopefully I pronounced your surname correctly. Is it Mjomark?
Mjomark, yes, it's perfect. Thank you.
Brilliant. Welcome to the show, Kristina. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you. How are you?
Yeah, really, really good. Thank you. Welcome to the show. So you work for a company called Discovery Education, Health and Relationships Programme. Starting off from the sort of top, as it were, can you talk about your solution and explain what it is and what it does and all of those sorts of things, please?
Yes, absolutely. So Discovery Education's Health and Relationships Programme is a program for primary children, year 1 to year 6, that's designed to cover the new statutory guidance that came out in 2020 for health education and relationships education. So it's a digital program. It's based on videos at its heart that also come with full lesson plans, classroom presentation slideshows, as well as a series of hands-on sort of practical classroom activities that you can do in class. And alongside these teaching materials is a suite of resources to support the delivery and the implementation of the program, and to help schools share information with parents so that the parents and families really know what's going on and what children are learning in class around this subject. The content of the program have been written by an amazing team of authors who's got extensive experience of helping schools to deliver PSHE and RSE. So all of the themes, the topics, the questions that the programs are based around, it really comes from their collective experience is in what works in the classroom and what kind of questions that children typically have when they are taking lessons in PSHE. So there are 6 topics in the program, and each children will revisit each topic every year. So it's really a spiral program of progressive learning that they build on their skills every year. It's as much about skills as it is about knowledge, really. And each topic is kicked off with a video. The videos are child-led, they're presented by children, they feature children, and they're very much based around children sharing their thoughts and their experiences around the topics, so that children, to kickstart the discussions in class, really. Following the videos are 3 lessons for each year group. So these are really, these can be delivered as 3 sessions, or you can expand them if you have more curriculum time. Again, they're designed to help children in their own exploration of the topic, and to share their thoughts and opinions and really listen to each other's viewpoints and all of them. And then in order to facilitate all of this in the classroom, we also provide a full, apart from the full lesson plans, also guidance to help you ensure a safe teaching and learning environment in the classroom. So this includes, for instance, how to establish ground rules for discussion in the class, respectful listening, etc., and also sort of how to encourage and respond to questions as a teacher that you might hear.
Sounds like you've thought of everything in that package there. Sounds fantastic. I suppose, as you know from our format, the kind of questions is about what's different. What would you say are the key kind of USPs, the areas of focus that you're offering that's a bit different to other approaches?
Well, I think, first of all, it is a brand new program. It's been written specifically for these new objectives in mind. We know that a lot of teachers felt maybe a bit of lack of confidence when this guidance came out. It's a very broad subject now, and it can be very difficult to know which resources are appropriate for which age group. So we wanted to give teachers resources that they know they can really trust, that it covers the right concepts in an age-appropriate way, and that it delivers progression. And again, also that bit about knowing how to answer questions, what to do if you encounter a question that's difficult in class. So we're really helping to support teachers in all aspects, really, about preparing for that class, during the class and after the class. But the real key point, I think, is really about how it puts children's own thoughts and questions and ideas at the heart of the learning. And that's really what drives each lesson as well. So the videos features children and young people sharing experiences. The presentations have scenarios, scene setting examples, and it's all about what children experience, what they feel. It's an inclusive resource. It explores themes and issues that are relevant to children today, and it reflects the society that children grew up in. So it's really all about making RHE lessons a collaborative environment, an open environment that facilitates discussion.
It definitely does sound really, really useful, Kristina. You know, I remember from when I was in school, whilst I was sort of relatively confident teaching a lot of, you know, PSHE curriculum and in my various form tutor roles over the years and things, but there were always things which sort of caught me off guard or I found a bit sort of more difficult to discuss. And one of the things that was missing, you know, it was often the resources and the ideas and the confidence to actually have some of those really quite complicated conversations with young people. So it's like a really useful product to have and sort of share there. We're a bit short on time, and hopefully I didn't take up too much time saying that then. But if what people wanted to find out more about this, and it does sound really, really useful for schools, where can people go and find out more about the products and sort of get in touch and try it out and those sorts of things?
discoveryeducation.co.uk is the best place to go.
Brilliant stuff. And if you're a social media user, have you got any sort of social media on Twitter perhaps, or
yes, absolutely. Facebook and Twitter as well. So just Discovery Education. So Discovery Ed UK is.
One last question from me, if we've just about squeezed got time. Is there resources available for schools to have a look and try some of the content before they invest?
I think possibly they can just contact us and we will try to set them up and they can have a go.
Perfect.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, Kristina. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kristina.
Bye.
Another great resource and very good timing as well. For
absolutely. Like I said, you know, there are some topics which are, you know, quite tasty to try and get into with young people. So having something like that to support you with those sort of things in school, I can see being massively, massively useful.
And a good trusted vendor as well, because they do some great resources. So
brilliant. So next on to the show, are you introducing the next guest or am I this time?
I think I might be doing one, Mark. I think I might be.
I think it's your turn this time.
I think it might be Mr. Will Jackson from Mote. Ta-da!
Welcome.
Hello there. Welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
Yeah, very well. Great to meet you, Al, and great to meet you, Mark.
Well, you probably worked out the format by now, but we're going to be talking about Mote. So, for anybody who's the non-initiated, give us a summary of what Mote's all about.
Absolutely. Well, Mote is a Chrome extension that makes it very easy to add voice notes and feedback as comments to documents and assignments. And we're integrated into Google Classroom, in Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Sheets, and soon many other applications. And we've really focused on making it as quick and easy and usable as possible to give feedback to students that students are going to engage with, are going to enjoy and learn from, and that frankly teachers can get through the amount of marking and feedback that they have as quickly and efficiently as possible.
That's a really good summary. I can see one very smiley Mr. Anderson. I know that resonates well with him. Over to you, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been lucky to have been, I had a little play over the summer, as I mentioned, to someone that both Will and I know, John Neal. But just seeing recently as well, I've noticed I've been playing around a little bit with the new feature called the STEM mode in there. Will, I know that'd be really, really helpful and useful for people who teach STEM subjects, physics, maths, and other sciences. Do you want to share a little bit about STEM mode? Because I think it's really useful.
Absolutely, yeah. So we noticed that we had a growing number of science teachers, maths teachers using Mote. And one of the things we were hearing was that, you know, wouldn't it be cool if instead of writing equals as EQUALS, couldn't you actually render that and actually do more with maths and scientific notation? And so we put it to some of our cleverest engineers, and they came up with a really nice solution where you can speak maths, you can speak chemistry equations, and we will turn that into really nice looking notation. It's a feature that's continuing to evolve, so do check it out. Yeah, that's something that I think we're going to be announcing soon. We're going to be giving everybody a special offer of you know, a Christmas or holiday edition access to our premium tier. But any new users can also access all of the features, the premium features. So perhaps while I'm on the topic of premium features, I should mention some of the other great things that you can do with Mote. So first off, we do have transcription, so voice to text. So one of the things we hear is that many teachers and students value the ability to both listen to the teacher's comment, but also to be able to read it as well, right? So maybe the listening to it gives you the, you know, the resonance understanding. I know where the teacher's coming from. I know they've given me, you know, maybe it's tough feedback, but I know that they're coming from a good place. But actually then the student can refer back to the written comments as well. And so that's the voice to text. We also allow teachers to translate into other languages, which is fantastic for teachers who have students maybe who don't have English as a first language, and you're trying to communicate with them. Especially this was really valuable during sort of lockdown and perhaps where distance learning is taking place. We have a lot of users in the US as well as in the UK, and this was really popular, ability to translate. We also have a feature we call Mote Book, which allows you to create comments that perhaps are, you know, perhaps generic comments like around perhaps grammar or punctuation that you can then use and repeat multiple times. It's very easy to create one of these reusable comments.
There's quite a lot on that list there, isn't there? I mean, I was going to ask the question, which is kind of the obvious one in terms of one of the key drivers has got to always be about how much quicker it is to provide feedback as a teacher. But you alluded to the EAL side, and I just wondered any experience in terms of whether it's provided teacher feedback has been more accessible to EAL parents as well in terms of closing that loop.
Yeah, this is something we have heard, and I'd love to figure out. We also hear, you know, requests for us to support, for example, Gmail and email communication with parents and other ways to engage with parents. So it's an area that we're really interested in continuing to invest in.
No, pretty well. I'm a big fan, so I've been sharing it an awful lot since I've started using it, and I've been using it myself as well for sort of feedback in documents that I work on a personal level as well. I can see it being massively useful. It's certainly, you know, teachers often like to be able to sort of, you know, cut the corners to go from the shortest distance from one point to the other, and that you mentioned the emotional connection as well. I mean, it's so much better for students, particularly those who've got additional needs. Perhaps they might be dyslexic as well, being able to access feedback where they can actually hear their teacher's voice, particularly under lockdown as well. One final question on that front, please. Well, have you sort of had feedback about that? How through teachers being able to use their voice, leaving feedback for their learners, has there been a positive response to that because they're not getting to see their teachers in school quite so much because of the situation we find ourselves in?
Yeah, this was a massive factor for us. We actually only launched the product in March, which was, I guess, propitious timing. And we really did see it was a lifeline for so many teachers and students. So we definitely see a lot of that. We also see a lot of usage when students are back in the classroom and teachers are, you know, homework still has to be marked, assignments still have to be reviewed. And so, but yeah, especially during remote learning, this is a great way to maintain that connection, to keep students engaged in their learning. So yeah, please do check it out if you aren't already a user. Check out our site, it's on the screen. Follow us on Twitter, join our Facebook community.
Well, it sounds like another product that's not going to work on my Nokia phone, but nonetheless, it does particularly appealing. A really good summary. So thank you for sharing with us today, Will.
You're very welcome. Thanks a lot for having me on.
You're very welcome.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Keep safe. Well, you know I'm a bit of a fan myself, don't you, Al? So I'll
no idea. You kept it hidden so well. What it just shows, though, like all these things, is sometimes it's not about complexity. It's about identifying those simple pinch points where you can save time or improve accessibility, and innovation. You know, some of it's those simple bits. But given how much I've seen smiley faces from you when you've discussed the product, I take that as a big professional stamp and seal of approval. So really good to have Will come on and be able to share that. And in fact, I think everybody we've got tonight is getting a seal of approval because we've had so many fantastic solutions. And I have no doubts that our next guest will continue in a similar vein. So Mark, somebody for you to introduce.
Yeah, absolutely. So welcome to the show, Amanda Madine from iAchieve. Welcome, Amanda. How are you?
Hi, good evening. Thank you very much for inviting me to join you today.
Hi, Amanda.
Hello.
No, you're very, very welcome. How are you?
Well, thank you. I'm very well. And you?
Yeah, keeping really, really well. Thank you. So
good. Great show so far.
Say again, sorry. Oh, thank you.
Great show so far.
Lovely. And seeing some of your comments in the chat as well. And whilst we've got a moment, actually, then, so have any sort of products sort of stood out to you at all that you've seen this evening?
Yeah, that one that we were just talking about there, just Mote, that sounded fantastic.
You just say that, Mark happy.
I'm easily pleased, though, Al. So that's sorted. So welcome to the show, Amanda. You work for iAchieve. For those who might not be aware of iAchieve, could you sort of start off by telling us a bit about what iAchieve actually is?
Yeah, of course. So iAchieve is an online learning platform that supports schools to successfully implement new courses into their curriculum, and we specialise in vocational qualifications. Recently, we've launched RSHE by iAchieve, which is an online framework that's assisting schools to successfully implement the new statutory guidance around relationships and sex education and health education, which we know became statutory in September this year. So our new online framework is matched directly to the new statutory guidance, and it helps to ensure that schools are 100% compliant with it. During the process of developing the new framework, school after school told us that it can be challenging to nurture a consistently high quality approach towards RSHE, and that was for various reasons, including a lack of subject specialists, a lack of dedicated teaching time, what can sometimes be challenging and uncomfortable subject matter, and of course the subjectivity around what's considered age appropriate, and that sometimes leading to inconsistency. So the iAchieve framework acts as a solution to those potential problems. How does it do that? Well, it does it by providing high quality online teaching and learning materials that are matched directly to that statutory guidance, as I mentioned, and which are endorsed by CASH, the leading awarding organisation. The framework's broken down into year groups and covers years 7 to 11. It uses that spiral style approach, which allows different topics and issues to intertwine and overlap in the way they do in the real world, rather than taking this more linear approach where components of the statutory guidance are taught as standalone topics. iAchieve uses this spiral approach to highlight the connections between different elements of the content, and it also means that the framework revisits topics year upon year, building in complexity and reinforcing previous learning. So because the teaching materials are all there in this online framework, teachers can simply log in and teach directly from it. So it supports both specialists and non-specialists alike to confidently deliver even the most sensitive subjects, and it significantly reduces any workload associated with implementing new statutory guidance because it's all there ready and waiting to be used.
That little mention there of workload was, I think, a really important one. Tell us about how the solution perhaps differs from other approaches, but I guess the key one is about how it makes life a bit easier to actually deliver that content.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think it's just very simple and straightforward to use. It's simple to log in. It's simple to access the teaching and learning materials that are relevant to your class or your year group. As a teacher, you don't need to worry about taking a topic and writing a lesson for it, which might bring about lots of questions as to what's age appropriate, what you should include, what you shouldn't include, and you can simply follow the iAchieve materials because we've done that legwork for you. As I mentioned, it's endorsed by the awarding organisation CASH, who are obviously regulated by Ofqual, and so it gives teachers this additional level of quality assurance and therefore confidence.
Fantastic, thank you.
Brilliant, thank you very much. So are there any other sort of ways that make it sort of really sort of suitable and useful? So how does it sort of serve the audiences that you have, and what sort of, I mean, you mentioned about how it works in a secular way through the ages and all of that, but you know, how does it best support your sort of your clients in any other ways that you haven't mentioned so far, Amanda?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I think there's lots of things, but the most important being that it's a whole school solution. It's an online solution. It can support with teaching of RSHE directly in the classroom. It can help with teaching it remotely if that's necessary. It can support a blended approach. Everything that somebody needs to deliver RSHE, anyone that's involved in delivering RSHE in school can log into the platform and be confident that if they follow the framework, it's all set out for them, that they'll be delivering high quality RSE and HE that fulfills statutory guidance. I should also mention here as well that the framework is matched to a nationally recognised qualification, so learners can actually achieve a qualification from doing this. It's not mandatory, but it's a nice optional bonus.
Fantastic. We'll take so the most important thing of all, Amanda, how would schools be able to find out more about the solution?
Yeah, brilliant question. So if you go to our website, which is iachieve.org.uk, and get in touch with us via the website, that's going to be the best way, or follow us on Twitter at iAchieve UK.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing with us. Sounds really, really good.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Thank you. Has been waving out. She's already gone. So Katie's so quick at getting everything up and running to that. Yeah, brilliant. Sounds really interesting, that.
It does. And when you say Katie, you mean our show producer?
Yes, our show producer. Yes, is really spot on with the work behind the scenes. And honestly, you know, viewers, you won't know this, but I mean, our show producer is working wonders, not only in terms of bringing people on and off and bringing all the lovely bells and whistles up that you can see on the screen and things, but they're managing so much behind the scenes. The private chat with all the guests coming in and out is on fire as well. So a midway little bit of a shout out to our show producer for their awesome work. Thank you so much to the show producer. And as Anna Pedrosa's just said, a big shout out for Katie. So thank you again, Anna, for joining us again. And whilst we're here, actually, a bit of a shout out to some of our audience who are coming through in the chat. So shout out to Anna Pedrosa, shout out to my friend John Neal, a longtime friend and an awesome guy to follow, J Neal UK on Twitter. We've got Tech Miss C, Rachel Cotup joining us as well. Tracy Armstrong, previous guest on the first episode of the Check It Out show, with us as well. Thank you all for joining us this evening. I hope you're enjoying the show so far. Please keep the comments sort of flying through in the chat. It's great to see you. And don't forget, like Al mentioned at the beginning of the show, to take a moment out, you know, grab a quick screenshot. I'm sure you'll be adept at the keyboard combinations or the little pressing of the buttons on the side of your mobile device to do that. And share. Use the Check It Out show hashtag. Let us know what products and services are resonating with you, things that you might be checking out as a result of seeing the show, and just give us some feedback, because it's always good to learn what you think about what we're doing, and not just the products, but the job that Al and I are doing here, so we can improve and develop things. If you've got some ideas for some show features as well, we'd love to hear those from you too. But enough of me sort of doing all of that stuff. It's now time to bring on another long-time friend, long-time sufferer. I joke, of course, but welcome to the Check It Out show, Mr. Henry. I took his photo for his avatar on Twitter, Platten.
Yeah, and I owe you so much for that photo, Mark. It has truly gone global. So it was a fantastic photo. How are you guys? Great to see you.
Buddy. See you too. You keeping well?
Yeah, keeping really well, thank you. And superb show, really, really good. So impressed with not just the production quality and obviously you guys, but also just the wide range of the interesting businesses that are on and the offerings and how they're looking at moving EdTech forward. And full plaudits to you two for helping this narrative and bring it through with the positivity. So yeah, well done.
Thank you,
Emery. Thank you. And it makes a change to see you on a platform such as this. It was just the other day when you were on the Dubai Eye show. I mean, you're on. When's are you going to be on the One show soon, or is it EastEnders, or what? You're a celebrity, Mr. Platten.
Have you not seen the new TV series, Go Henry?
Yes, it does feel like there've been a lot of webinars and broadcasts recently. I suppose it's the time of year that it is. You know, obviously Anti-Bullying Week last week and World Kindness Day before that, and also just the work that we're doing now increasingly globally, being in 68 different countries. There's different sort of requests and requirements that come up for that. But I'm always in the shadow of you two gentlemen with your global outreach and domination of the media waves.
I think we need to, after all this excitement, we need Henry to tell everybody about GoBubble. And I can't believe anybody hasn't heard of GoBubble. But if you've been in a bubble, now's your chance to hear about GoBubble. Go, Henry.
Excellent. Thanks, Al. So GoBubble, first and foremost, is free for schools. So we'll deal with that bit straight away. And GoBubble is aiming to be safer, healthier, and kinder in terms of the digital communities that our students are in and interact with. GoBubble, at its heart, has the look and feel of a social media, but is better than social media. One of the key ways is that within GoBubble, we deliberately reward kindness. So we reward the likes that students and children give, not the likes they get. And the kinder they are towards their peers, the higher their score within GoBubble. And interestingly, heads and teachers around the world have told us that they've seen an impact in schools since introducing GoBubble, how it's actually translated then to children's offline behaviors and how they've actually been kinder in real life, in face-to-face, as well as it reducing incidents of offline bullying in schools. Because one of the other aspects that we have within GoBubble is that we check all of the content before it goes live. That's text, emoji, photo, video, even audio. So it does all of the screening for schools. So there's none of the issues which can come through other communication platforms. It deals with it all at source to help to safeguard the teachers and the students as well. And people really, they use it alongside traditional LMSs or Teams or Google Classroom and G Suite as a way of authentically giving the students a way to connect and collaborate, but in a medium which is friendly to them, having the look and feel of social media, but that has all of the benefits that you'd want as teachers. And really, it's the impact for us that's the most rewarding thing. So I think the last time that the three of us spoke, we were in 22 countries at that point, and now we have more than 1,700 schools registered in more than 68 countries around the world. And that's all been through teachers just spreading the word to others. One of the interesting things as well that we've done, and obviously this is all about check it out, what's new, what's different about GoBubble to other platforms. Not just in terms of the points that I've touched on already about the emphasis that we have on kindness, but schools use it very much in terms of pastoral care. They use it very much in terms of giving that outreach for the students, both those that are in hybrid as well as face-to-face. But we've also now started to release content within GoBubble on certain theme days. So we have the likes of the great team at Kabangu Maths. They record a Maths Monday session that goes out for the students to be able to interact with. Tuesdays, we have Tune Tuesdays. Tune Tuesday actually is dance videos that's led by Emma Pittman, who's the star of Broadway's Chicago and very well recognized globally. On a Wednesday, we have Wellbeing Wednesday. So Miss Mindful Green, Ashley Green out in Dubai, creates some wellbeing videos for us. Russell Smart's been doing some as well for PE. And then on a Thursday, we have Tricky Trivia Thursday, which I know, Mark and Al, you would be fantastic at. And it's the pub quiz for your classroom that's created by different guest hosts. So it's been interesting seeing all of that come through for the kids as well.
That sounds like things have moved. I mean, and it wasn't even that long ago when you and I were actually working together and doing things on GoBubble, Henry. I mean, that's amazing news, seeing how things have come through and forwards. And also, congratulations as well, whilst we're here, because you work on GoBubble with your wife, Danielle. And so whilst we're on, Danielle, for her work with you on GoBubble, has been nominated for a Bet Me a Game Changer Award. No, sorry, Women in EdTech Award, hasn't she?
Yes. Yeah, she has, and thoroughly deserves it. I mean, for the leadership and the impact that Danny has in terms of COO is fantastic, and really has helped to bring that kindness through, and engages and supports the teachers so well. And also, it's a nice recognition as well for the impact that the teachers and the kids have using GoBubble in all of the schools around the world as well. But yeah, Mark, it wasn't that long ago that you were helping us very much during lockdown around the activities, the ideas for kids to do at school, and that's helped to feed and to grow. So at the moment, we now have a campaign at the moment called Go Kind, which is actually helping the children record and acknowledge acts of kindness which are happening offline, either which they're doing or people are doing for them, and then coming back into GoBubble and recognizing it, very much building on the foundations that you helped with. So thank you very much for that.
Oh, it's very kind of you. It's a pleasure working with a company such as yours, Henry, where you're making such a big difference. And who doesn't want the world to be a better place and be a kinder place? So it's always a privilege working with you. And I know Al has the same sort of feelings I do on this front. It's great to see a product which tries to sort of develop these sorts of attributes in our young people. So congratulations on all the developments you've had in recent times. For those people who have been living under a rock and haven't heard about the awesome GoBubble, where can people find out more, Henry? How can they get involved?
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. So simply go to gobubble.school. That's the website. Free to register, as I mentioned. Very quick and easy to get started. And also you can check us out on Twitter with the handle JoinBubble, or for myself, Henry_Platten.
Can I just add, apart from this being a fantastic solution, I did send in a show reel ready as an alternative for your Tune Tuesday. I know you've gone with a Broadway dancer, but I have to say I thought my audition was pretty strong. And so I'm hoping to hear back from you in due course, Mr. Platten.
Yes, certainly. Our people will be in touch, Al. They'll be in touch.
Well, thank you. I don't wear a tutu for everybody, I'll have you know.
I think this might be the point, Mr. Kingsley, where our show producer actually removes you by mistake and we leave Henry on in lieu of you.
Always to have a good smile. And like Mark said, it's fantastic to see how the product and your team have evolved over the last couple of years. Congratulations to all of you, Henry.
Thank you. And thank you both, and to Kate as well, for all of the support you've shown us. We're so grateful. So look forward to watching the rest of the show and checking it out.
Boom. Great stuff. Fantastic. Well, I think I just need to disappear for a second.
Okay, you go. Oh, it's me. It's the Al Check It Out show. Now, what I need now is a guest that I can ask about what they do and how they support schools in getting the best out of their technology and IT. I wonder if our show producer's got any suitable candidates they could bring into the studio for me to interview. Ta-da! Mr. Anderson.
I didn't have time for a costume change, Mr. Kingsley, so unfortunately you'd have stuck with the same clothes I had before. So
I think we got away with it. I don't think people have noticed. So, listen, we've been talking about all sorts of fantastic solutions, and we obviously, over the last two shows, have been talking to specialists who provide advice and guidance on different services for school. And anybody will know that you have spent many a year providing pearls of wisdom and guidance on how to get the most out of technology in schools. Mark, tell us a little bit in a broader sense about what kind of support and services you offer schools and events and the bigger picture.
Yeah, absolutely, Al. Thank you. You know, I got into teaching to make a difference, and something that happened as a byproduct of what I was doing with the work I was doing in schools was I was being asked to go out and share and support schools. And when my children were really young, and I was still trying to teach a sort of 70% timetable, still trying to sort of look after my young children and spend time with them. All of these things, all the roles I had, SLT, staff governor, all these other things I was doing, I realized that something had to give a little bit. And I was inspired by a colleague of mine that I used to work with, Jim Smith. He's the lazy teacher, and he was working as an assistant head and then on to a deputy head. He's now head of school as well, but he was still managing to keep things working, all the rest of it. But he was going out and working in schools and making a big difference and a big impact. And so I took the decision in January 2015, well, a bit before then, but I started doing what I do now in January 15, to take a few years out from teaching and school leadership full time, and to sort of take that mission of helping people beyond the walls of my own school. And so since that time, I have been developing lots of training materials, working with lots and lots of schools around digital strategy, making effective use of technology, all those things. But I've been very fortunate along this journey, from writing the book Perfect ICT Every Lesson to co-authoring that guide with you on how to create a successful school digital strategy, because I work very much in a space where educational technology is a cornerstone of my thinking in support and teaching and learning. Over the years, I've increasingly worked with a series of edtech companies as well. And so part of my offer now through the business ICT Evangelist involves me offering a variety of sort of marketing opportunities for edtech companies as well. I've also been on advisory boards for edtech companies, supporting them in their thinking around not just how to market their products, but more importantly for me on a personal front, how to develop their products so that they can really fulfill pedagogical needs, and thinking about how cognitive science fits into all that and all those sorts of things. So my offer to outwardly from the business is sort of threefold, really. I support schools, and obviously in relation to that, I also speak in events around technology and teaching and learning. But that's something that I'm really, really passionate about and do an awful lot of work on. And for example, I was the opening keynote speaker this morning at the Guest Virtual EdTech Summit in Dubai, although obviously I didn't travel to Dubai this morning for that. I'm involved in other passion projects and other bits of work as well. So inspired by colleague Matt Jones, I'm also involved in a project called UK Edu Stories, which is something I do every Thursday evening with Bookie Youssef. We've been offering, we're doing a sponsored show this week, for example, for Bloomsbury Education. We've got 3 authors coming on, and we're using the show to help promote the authors and the publishing house as well. So there are opportunities both for marketing through things like UK Edu Stories, plus Learn Live UAE, which is my UAE based show that I do with my friend Ollie Lewis. I've got another activity that I do as well through Global EdTech. Global EdTech, Ronan McNichol, my colleague there, came on the show last week. And so EdTechs who are involved in the show this evening, for example, might like to get involved and engage with our Appvent calendar. It's a project that I've been doing for 4 or 5 years now. If you're interested in using that as a tool to help promote your product, that's available to you too. So there's a really broad cross spectrum of things that I do, but I'm mindful that, like, I always think when everyone else is rattling on for a very long time, that I need to let you ask me another question, Mr. Kingsley.
It's lovely having a countdown clock on you, Mr. Anderson. So you've covered some of those services. In terms of, you've done lots of work and supported some of the projects that we've been doing, wearing one of my other hats as NetSupport, and in that bigger picture, what kind of coverage and routes to market do you provide for different technology firms if they're interested in using you to help showcase some of their latest innovation and ideas?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Al. So there's a variety of things that I can do, but the one thing that I would say with every company that I work with, it's bespoke to them, whilst obviously I want things to be successful for myself, it's always really important that I support companies to be successful for them. So Henry, who was on a moment ago, mentioned a project I was involved with him, where I helped him work on a calendar which supported the efforts of GoBubble back at the beginning of the lockdown. And so I work with companies based upon my influence, based upon my social reach, based upon my experience and the authenticity of the work that I've been doing throughout my career. And I would say this, whilst I am a businessman now, I still have my teacher hat on. So just like we'd hear Simon from Pobble talking, former head teacher, and lots of the team at Pobble are from education, I still have that same attitude. So I don't actually work with everybody, Al. I don't. That's one of the very fortunate positions I'm in. But I do like to partner with, work with, and support those projects and companies that I believe in, and I know are doing great things. So a good example of that would be a company like Mote. We had Will Jackson on before. I think it's a fantastic product. I'm not currently working with them, but they sort of form the hallmark of those sort of businesses that I choose to work with. Because for me, I fell into what I do. It's taken me a long time to build up the reputation that I have. But whilst it'd be lovely for companies to capitalize on that and aligning with me and the work they do and all the rest of it, I don't want to lose that at the same time by actually then working with the wrong company. And there has to be, as Anna Pedrosa once said to me, actually, who's viewing this evening, she talked about chemistry conversations, and it's really important to have a good chemistry between myself and the clients that I have. And I'm sure you have the same sort of thing with the people you partner with. We have a great chemistry as well too, Al, don't we? So that's what's really, really important. But there are lots of offers that I can give and ways in which I can support. It could be through some of the shows that I do. It could be through sponsored posts, product reviews, through a whole series of things, webinars, those sorts of things. But there are many ways. But the most important thing for me on all of these activities, Al, is I really want to be impactful for the people who are involved in them. Impactful for the clients is most important. And whether it's impactful for me personally or not, it's a bit of a byproduct, really.
Well, I think that's a pretty good summary. The most important thing for anybody who doesn't know how to follow your accounts is where would be the best place for people to engage with you, Mark, if they want to find out a bit more about your services?
So if you go to my website, ICTEvangelist.com, but if you Google ICT Evangelist, you'll find me everywhere. YouTube.com/ICT Evangelist, Pinterest.com, you get the idea. Instagram.com/ all of that. So that's how and where you'll find me, and I'm always happy to engage and have conversations to try and see how I can help and support businesses and schools ultimately, because that's what we're trying to do, isn't it? Support teachers and school leaders to support and help the young people in our schools as best as we can.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing. And yes, we've worked together for many years, and I've always been one to endorse the professionalism and the approach that you offer. So a big thumbs up to you. However, I love talking to you about some of the things that you've been involved in projects over the years. I am aware that we've got an iTCHYROBOT lining up. We've got about the Eden project. We've got some classroom instructional stuff. So I think, as the adage is, the show must go on, Mr. Anderson.
Indeed. And before we do, though, Al, I just want to say thank you very much for the opportunity to come on and share. We got involved in this project as a means of trying to shine a spotlight on lots of people, not really myself or yourself, but to provide that opportunity and platform for others. So for you to prompt me to come on and share in the way that you have was very, very kind of you. So thank you very much.
Our pleasure collectively. Let's move on. And I see lined up in the green room, which makes us sound very grand, we have our next guest, which is Rebecca Lambton from iTCHYROBOT.
Hello.
Hi, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
We're all very excited to hear about your solution. So I know it's getting a little bit later in the evening, but thank you for bearing with us to come onto the show.
That's all right. I haven't got my pajamas on just yet.
So you know the format by now. So
I do know the format.
We would love to hear a bit more about iTCHYROBOT. So take it away.
Okay, so iCHYROBOT are school website specialists. I'm sure everybody's seen a school website, seen a bad school website. So we've developed a web platform for schools that not only help them to, and I hate to say this, but sell their school, but it's also packed full of features and functionality that will help support them to save time, save money, improve processes, improve efficiencies. And that is from a teacher, from school business managers, the senior leadership team. So the way that we work with schools is we would help them to develop and design a website that is specific to their school. You do see a lot of school websites that look the same. You put your logo there, you put your different colours there. We actually work with the school to look at what they want people to know about the school, how special they are, what's special about their school. And then the platform that sits behind the website is full of tools whereby they can sign their policies, digital policy signing. So they have to upload policies to the website. We all know there's hundreds and hundreds of school policies. So we've developed a solution whereby when you upload a policy to the school website, it automatically emails all of your staff who can review the policy, digitally sign the policy only when they've answered questions correctly to make sure they've understood the policy. And only when they've answered the questions correctly does the signature box appear. We have integrated parents' evening system. We have a virtual classroom as part of the website as well. Because what we found is the school website is probably the nearest thing you're ever going to get to the actual physical school. And more often than not, it's the only thing that that you do see. So yeah, it needs to sell the school perfectly, but also have that added functionality there that has some improvement, that has some value, and that helps the schools to save the money.
That's brilliant, Rebecca. Thank you very much for sharing that. It's something that I'm really passionate about myself. I've developed a few websites myself over the years. One of the things which is particularly difficult for schools is maintaining compliance. And so I'm sorry to go off piste with the questions, but you'll know recently there was some updates to the required documentation for schools to go online, things around executive pay and remote learning policies and the use of catch-up funding, all that sort of thing. How do you go about supporting schools with those sort of things? Because it's difficult for schools to keep on top of updates at the best time, isn't it?
Yeah, so we can spot them in 3 different ways. One of them is we have a compliance checker, which is integrated within the website so that they can analyse their website against the updated Ofsted requirements. We keep all of our clients up to date with Ofsted news and things like that. But we also have automated solutions. So where data exists, so on the DFE website from a school performance perspective, or on the where you publish the governor information, we can automatically import that data directly into your website. So you're not having to duplicate, I need to update that information there, I need to do it there. You update it in one place and it will automatically update the website as well. We also make the website very easy to update yourself. So if changes do need to be made, they can be done quickly, easily by any member of staff.
That's always good to know. And I'm always a fan when we look at sort of integrated solutions. And you mentioned something there, particularly post and during lockdown, that a lot of schools have started dipping their toes into the water, which is online parents' evenings.
Yes, we have an integrated parents' evening system.
So tell us a little bit more about how that works, because I think that's definitely an area of interest for a lot of schools.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we created the solution because the schools had asked us to. They had been using sort of separate systems whereby parents have to go into download a different app, or they've got to log into a different website. So we wanted to integrate something in ours. So teachers can manage their own time within the site. They can manually book people on if people don't have access to the internet. And then parents can also log in, make their bookings. And we've also got Zoom integration within the website as well. So if people need to, obviously they need to at the moment, do that parents' evening via Zoom, then they've got the ability to do so via the parents' evening system. It also monitors who has and hasn't attended. So, oh my goodness, it's gone so fast.
Hasn't it just? It should be me. I talked for 25 minutes a moment ago, and I thought I was on for 10 seconds, Rebecca.
Oh
so
my goodness,
honestly, it flies, isn't it?
I can talk.
Rebecca, tell us on the audience listening how they can go about finding out more about your solution.
They can visit our website, which is www.itchyrobot.co.uk. Please don't type into Google Itchy Robot, because there's lots of things that appear that you potentially don't want to. You can access us via Twitter, which is itchyrobot_SCH. We're on Facebook, which is Itchy Robot.
Fantastic. And are we allowed to ask where the name came from?
You can. So the itchy bit is that he's itching to do something, and the robot is the technical aspect of it. So we created a lovely little character, obviously to personalise the service that we provide, really.
Fantastic. Well, it's been a pleasure.
Brilliant.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. I just wish it was longer. All right. Have a great evening, guys. Thank you very much.
That's all right. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Another great solution.
Yeah, and I think you picked up on a key sort of USP there, really, which is that integration for the parents' evening booking system. That's something which, you know, and so many teachers are talking about how to best sort of go and approaching those things, and the fact they've got integration in things like Zoom as well. That's going to be super helpful for many schools, for all their clients, I'd have thought. So, well spotted, just sort of picking up on that and asking that question.
And that compliance check is a really useful feature. I think anything that helps maintain a website. You're right. It is your shop window, isn't it? At the end of the day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. So next up, we've got someone, and it's his time to shine. Our show producer says. So please welcome onto the show this evening, Mr. Matt Jones. Welcome to the show. Now,
hi guys.
I think he's looking to raise his game. Because it was Matt's inspiration which got me doing this sort of stuff on the show earlier. But I was so proud of myself in making my lovely little things like this. And then he came back with one straight away with a hashtag which is relevant to what I put up there.
Well, maybe we can make that a thing, Mark, every time. So good. Well, good to see you guys.
Welcome to the show, Matt. How are you?
Thank you. Very well, thank you.
Good late night booking for you, Mr. Jones.
It's good. Been catching up on a few bits. So all good.
Always a pleasure to have you on. So listen, Classroom.cloud, like many of the products that we've been showcasing the last few weeks, on a bit of a journey, technology that's rapidly evolving.
Certainly is.
Tell us a little bit about Classroom.cloud and what's been happening of late.
Okay, so Classroom.cloud is a new solution from NetSupport, who've been developing classroom management solutions now for over 30 years. We've got a lot of experience in it, and we're the market leaders, I guess is how you would see us. What we call classroom management is the ability for a teacher in real time to be able to interact with, monitor, collaborate, and keep the students on task essentially whilst they're in lesson in class. So that's classroom management. That's what we kind of call it. And since the kind of pandemics, at the beginning of the pandemic, we've seen lots of schools, lots of teachers, lots of educators using the likes of Teams, Zoom, Google Meet. But the one thing I think, or one of the things they're missing, is those kind of familiar tools to keep the students on task, to be able to look over their shoulder to see what they're doing, and to kind of block the internet or various things that they want to keep away from them while they're trying to teach them. So Classroom.cloud is in a way a familiar solution to them. It's something that they would have been using in their classrooms and still can, but it's removing the boundaries of the traditional classroom management solutions. It can be used when the students are at home, when the students are in the class, or a mixture. So it's kind of that blended learning model as well.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing that, Matt. You say you're the market leader in this regard.
We could be in Anderson's pause, which means I might get a question in as well in the meantime. Fantastic. We can have fun now, Matthew.
Go for it, Al.
So tell us about, yes, I mean, there's a bit of a history with us and classroom management. So a bit of a journey in terms of, I think Mark was about to ask before he got paused by the elves about big market leaders. So whereabouts in the world, how many countries, licenses?
So we've got classroom management solutions all over the world, really. The solutions are available in many languages, including Arabic. It's in sort of double byte characters. We've got about 18 million users worldwide using our solutions. So yeah, we've been around a while. We've been to lots of trade shows, spoken to lots of educators, and taken on board the feedback that they give us as to what they need and what helps them in the classroom to make the lessons kind of tick.
Excellent. Thank you for that.
Brilliant. Thanks, Matt. I think my internet elves had a bit of a wobble a second ago. So I'll jump in with an extra little bit onto that question there, if I can. What makes Classroom.cloud different to any of your competitors? Are there any competitors?
There are some competitors, although we kind of don't look over our shoulder at what they're doing, really. I think the main things for it are that it's easy to use. So for the teachers, simplicity, as Neil from Trilby mentioned earlier, simplicity is key. For the techies, it's easy to manage. So, you know, they're looking at now solutions that are over the internet. They could be in someone's house, someone's school classroom, and also it's low cost. So for the business managers, those kind of three different areas, techies, business managers, and teachers, there's something for everybody there.
Superb. Thank you, Matt. Over to you, Al.
Well, I was just going to allude to it. We've got a little bit of time, really, which is, you know, one of the keys of all the products that are part of that portfolio are really about co-production and about how they're constantly adapting based on teacher feedback. So good
Absolutely, yeah. I've spent a lot of time on the phone and Teams with teachers and people that we've kind of worked with and known over the years, sort of getting their feedback on the solution. I've been really keen to find out what they've got to say about it. It's kind of a bit like my baby, really. So I'm kind of keen to get some feedback so we can improve it. We've made a lot of changes in the last month, really. We've gone international, so we've now got the solution in 9 languages. And then, as Al said, we've done a lot of usability improvements, really. Feedback from people using it, people trying it, and customers. We've got the solution in lots of countries now. We're in Kuwait, Abu Dhabi, the US, France, Germany, all over the place. So we're getting lots of feedback. It's all been positive so far, very much so. But there's some things that we can change on the software to improve it and make it better. So we've been putting in a lot of things for them to actually make it easier and kind of really, that kind of customer feedback is key. That's what we base our development on at the moment.
Thank you, Matt. I wanted to sort of follow up with that. So what are the sort of the top 3 sort of things that teachers sort of feedback that they love about Classroom.cloud? What are the things, because it'll be the things that help them out and help them to do their job the easiest, I guess. Can you share some of those things that teachers feedback? I
think really it's the kind of things I mentioned earlier. It's the simplicity of it. I mean, it's 2 clicks from the teacher logging onto their website and then getting into the view where they can actually see what the kids are doing. So the simplicity, the speed of it, and then really just the kind of the tools to actually let them keep the students on track, to block their internet, to lock their screens if they want to talk to them, see what they're doing, kind of looking over their shoulder, which are things that you can't really do on Teams and kind of the Google Meet in the same way as we can on our classroom management solution. So I think sometimes it's that kind of familiar set of tools that they've been using maybe for years in the classroom. They can now use those if they're at home, or if they've got students in the classroom, they can use those kind of without the boundaries.
And the most important question, can schools try it for free? And if so, where would they head to, Matt?
Absolutely. They would go to Classroom.cloud and then they can sign up for a free trial. And if they need to use it for longer or on more devices, then email us, give us a shout, and we can sort that out for you as well. Hopefully, we're working on some new features that we're going to release before Christmas. So kind of watch this space as well. There's some exciting developments there. So yeah, so get signed up and check it out.
Fantastic. Thank you. And I was going to say late night, but it's not. It's an early night for Mr. Jones. So thank you for joining.
Well, I'm a celebrity soon, isn't it? So I've got to get home. So yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, Matt. Good to see you.
Lovely to see you again.
Thank you very much, guys. Speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye. Crikey. There's been so many brilliant presentations this evening. And again, just like the last show, I've learned so much, Al. It's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, get a bit of monitor envy going on from that last presentation. Way too much technology. Yeah, I mean, it's lovely because the thing that we talked about at the very beginning when we were talking to Caroline was diversity, the different kinds of solutions, the breadth of it. And I think we've got a fantastic one to wrap up at the evening's products and presentations coming up next, which is something that I'm sure many will find really, really interesting. I'm looking forward to speaking to our last guest of the evening. So shall we introduce?
Yeah, absolutely. So please welcome to the Check It Out show, Alex Bell from Eden Project Changemakers. Welcome, Alex.
Evening, gentlemen. How are you?
Good evening. Good to see you.
I'm in my shed in Southeast London, so I'm not live from the Eden Project as we speak, but I grew up there. I grew up next to the clay pit, which became the Eden Project. So here I am today as a coach working internationally, and things come full circle.
There was an opportunity there where you could have claimed you were in a shed on site right now, but we'll forgive you.
Just a little fun fact, because you've had a long evening, I know. I'm literally underneath the Greenwich Meridian line. The range is above my garden, so if anybody's around the world watching, the Meridian line joins up with you somewhere.
Fantastic! That's a good.
There you are, a little top tip for you. Didn't educate you as well as inform.
So tell us about your project.
Okay, it's called the Eden Changemaker Project. It is program. It's me. It's Sam Kendall. If any of you haven't been to the Eden Project in Cornwall, it's the world's largest indoor rainforest. So it's this, it was built at the same time as the Millennium Dome. The Millennium Dome became something else, the O2 Arena. This Eden Project is staged true to its principles of educating about sustainability through the theatre of plants. And it's not just a tourist attraction, which is, it's one of the top 10 tourist attractions in the UK and very popular around the world. It's also a hub for education, innovation around sustainability. So I'm really proud that in January next year, Sam Kendall, the head of learning at Eden Project, Sir Tim Smith, the founder of Eden, and me, the boy that grew up next to the pit that became Eden Project, are launching a sustainability-based early leadership program. Now, sometimes if you're a school leader and you've got somebody who's really promising, they've kind of cracked classroom teaching, they know what they're doing, and they're ready for the next stage, it's a bit tricky to know what to give them. And I think with kind of Generation X, with the new generation of young and early career teachers coming through, sometimes they want a little bit more than we give them in education. I think teachers are a really powerful force. Young people are switched on to the environment. Greta Thunberg, the Parklands kids, both those major movements and marches, the two biggest we've ever had on planet Earth, were created by young people. So I think there's something around young people themselves having a right to understand what the climate crisis is, early career teachers wanting something that's as powerful as teaching but has impact beyond the classroom and the school. So that's what the program is. It's to give young, early emergent leaders a sense of their own sustainability and well-being, curriculum content on climate change and sustainability, with all the 20 years that Eden's been expert in that and has become a leading force in the world, and then some sort of impact. You may have heard of the Big Lunch. That Big Lunch is an amazing community event created by Eden themselves. So we're taking the elements of all those things and having a leadership program where you don't just lead yourself, lead important aspects of school development, but also have some impact and some meaning beyond just the classroom and the school. So that's what we aim to do. We've got amazing guests. We've got Sir Tim Smith himself talking about how Eden came about and what he believes the agenda is for all of us, and how teachers and young people can lead that change. We've got David Price, OBE, a good friend of ours, who wrote this amazing book called The Power of Us, which is about how collaboration can lead to some amazing things. And in the book, he quotes Greta Thunberg and the Parkland kids as sort of creating this movement. And we are in talks with other senior politicians and movers and shakers in this world of ecology and sustainability. So that's what it is.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for sharing that. I mean, that sounds absolutely fantastic. I live, as I would say, just up the road. I mean, I'm in Somerset, so we both know actually it's just as far from here to King's Cross as it is to go down to the Eden Project. But my children absolutely love it, and we visit it, at least once a year. Can I ask, Alex, please, how does this sort of approach to sort of sustainability, how does it differ to any other sort of projects that might be available to schools to engage in?
We don't think it's been done before. We don't think there's been a leadership program where we take early leaders, emergent leaders, who normally would be given a curriculum area, PE, RE, science or something, and give them a platform to have impact beyond the school walls, if you like. I think there's this sort of quite a few leaders now who have community links in their portfolio, quite a few who naturally would do that, but not a leadership program about having impact beyond school. Of course, we know education's a real force for good. Of course, we know there's a really, really urgent agenda to do with sustainability and climate change. So we're putting the two together and using the sort of leadership leverage to have perhaps a different kind of leader than we've had before. You know, I'm old enough, I'm 55 now, to be part of the generation where when I was a school leader, it was for a time just about the data and just about the targets and not about anything with a wider impact. And of course that is important, but we're trying to grow a sort of leader that knows the important things in education and the impact that education can have beyond that as well.
No, I can definitely see that. I remember visiting a school in Adelaide, the Kabangu Climate Change School, which is a school which actually, and you may well know of it, said it's about 10, 15 years ago, but it was a completely sustainable school. They grew their own veg and things for lunch. The children learned about all sorts of bits being sustainable through the whole curriculum, and it was interwoven into everything that I did. So I could see it being of massive interest. And the students were so literate about the importance of all these things, as well as a byproduct of the approaches in the school. So I think it sounds
I think you used the word literacy. I think, you know, more and more, I think we need to understand that well-being, that community cohesion, that caring for the planet is the new literacy, which is urgently needed, you know, and we would be shocked if a child couldn't read now. And I think it won't be too long before we're shocked if a child doesn't understand how to look after their own well-being, how to really make their community as cohesive as possible, you know, and the George Floyd murder taught us all that we need to do with that agenda. And then, of course, really doing everything we can to address climate change as urgently as we can. So that's a literacy that I'm very keen that we promote through things like the Eden Changemaker program.
I don't think we can really ask for a better or more enthusiastic summary of something. So thank you for sharing that, Alex.
Starts January, there's 4 courses over the 4 half terms. You'll love it. Please tell your friends. And it's international. It's not just for UK schools. It's for any schools around the world. 1 till 4 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time or British Summer Time. So it's suitable for many time zones.
And to find out more, head to
Eden Project website, and it's Eden Changemaker program.
Fantastic. Sounds a really exciting opportunity. And thank you for being the last people to join us in the evening directly under GFP. Brilliant. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you. Take care and be safe.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Well, look at that, Mr. Kingsley. We said we'd start on the hour, and look at that, 2 hours and 30. We could not have been better timed, even with my earlier ramblings. So,
hang on.
fantastic.
You know what? And what that shows really is we've had every single guest we've had on this evening has been really clear, been on time, on point, given a really good summary. And you know what? Every single solution is worth going away and having a check out after the show, isn't it? So really pleased. And a huge thank you to everybody who's contributed tonight. And as you mentioned, Mark, a huge thank you to our production director, studio engineer, roadie, and all-round top person, Katie, behind the scenes. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
And we now need to share, before we wrap up, when our next show is going to be. So we've just been reminded that we've got a December show coming. There's still a couple of places. If you're interested in getting your solution or service on the December show, then please head to netsportsoftware.com/showcase to register. And the show for December will be at some point.
It's on the 22nd of December, same time, same place, and so you can view in 3 areas on the Check It Out show. You can watch us live from NetSupport's Facebook page, you can watch us live from NetSupport's YouTube page, or you can watch live via my Twitter account. It'll be the same time and place and space, 7 p.m, 22nd of December, and we've already got some fantastic solutions keen to share about the things that they are up to and what they do as well. So thank you so much, everybody, for your engagement in what was penned, as I mentioned at the start of the show, at the top of the show. Thank you, Russell Prue. The Tomorrow's World of EdTech. I'm gonna eat out on that for a very long time, I think, Al. But thank you so much for joining us this evening, and I'll leave it to you, Mr. Kingsley, to have the final word. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, everybody. It's been a pleasure. Look forward to seeing you for our Christmas special. Yay!